Welcome back to Bar News Network. Today's weather report. We're actually reporting to you weather events in the region of the Great Plains states as well as Louisiana. Primarily, we're looking at a pattern of weather that is actually going to be impacting the area of Wyoming as well as Montana, as well as the Great Plains, southern Great Plains, the upper Midwest, such as North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, as well as other states. If you're new to this channel, please go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. We bring daily weather reports to you directly and bring you all the different dimensions of the weather. So here we are, we have an actual radar of system in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's actually stirring up quite a bit. We anticipate additional showers for the regions, unfortunately, of Lake Charles, Louisiana, and also Arkansas, as well as East Texas, going into the remainder of this afternoon and this evening into tonight. We anticipate significant supercell thunderstorm development in the early morning of Friday morning, as we see more of the effects of surface heating and also other effects that are going to be impacting the southern states. If we take a closer look at some of the slight as well as marginal advisories from the Storm Prediction Center, we actually see that we are in a marginal risk for the area of Denver, Kansas City, Omaha, Tulsa, and Minneapolis, whereas we have more of an advanced risk in the region of Rapid City, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Scottsbluff, Nebraska, as well as Sterling, Colorado. But you can actually see from the area that we actually anticipate more severe weather in the region of eastern Wyoming, also overflowing into regions of Nebraska and South Dakota. You can actually see from our dew point forecast here, actually the flow of the low-level moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. The sea surface temperatures of the Gulf of Mexico at this time are hovering in the upper 70s to low 80s. So there's just a complete body of very, very warm advection into the regions of Louisiana, as well as Arkansas, Missouri, and also the other states in the upper Midwest. But we can clearly see a pattern that's going to be seen over the next few hours, actually. If you take a closer look at that low pressure system that is actually above in the state of Utah, that's going to be impacting the weather in the region of Montana. We anticipate heavy rain for the regions of Billings, Gwinnett, and Glasgow, as well as additional rain for that region. Also, we anticipate more rain for the areas of St. Paul, Minnesota, as well as Des Moines, Iowa, as we go into the remainder of this week into the weekend. We can take a closer look at some of the temperatures across the country also. We see things heating up in Florida into the 80s, and then we see there's actually a dome of heat that is actually going to be covering the area of the southeast. Areas such as Georgia and South Carolina can anticipate the mid-80s to the 90s. If we head out closer to Arizona, we see that we're actually in the 90s. But as far as Southern California and Northern California, we're still looking at mid-60s, whereas in areas of Seattle as well as Oregon, they're still in the mid-50s. But we're actually going to be under what's called an omega block, where there's going to be a high-pressure system in the middle of the high-pressure zone that's going to be increasing sort of the feeling of summer approaching quite early in the area of the mid-plains, and coupled with the fact that of all the low-level moisture actually creeping in from the Gulf of Mexico, it means that there's going to be additional showers for states such as Louisiana, Mississippi, as well as Arkansas going into the weekend. If we take a closer look, we also wanted to bring to your attention actually increased increased precipitation in the region of the Northwest. Areas such as Wyoming and Montana should anticipate additional precipitation. Even we anticipate there's a possibility of snow for regions such as the Great Falls in the Northwest. So that is actually going to be possibility of increased snowfall, not to a great extent, but at higher elevations and higher terrain. There is a possibility of some snowfall. Here we are coming into June and we're actually still talking about snow, but this would be at the higher terrains in the regions of Wyoming as well as Montana with a possibility. But that also has to do with a lot of that low pressure troughing that is actually happening in the region of Wyoming, the Great Basin, and there's that trough will actually transition from the Great Basin into the region more of Montana, which will increase the likelihood of precipitation actually going into the remainder of the week. The most important thing to remember also is that even though we have seen the video footage of severe flooding in the region of Louisiana, we do anticipate that there'll be additional rainfall on top of what they've already received, simply because you can actually see the inflow of low-level moisture. We do know that the wind is actually coming in from the south. It's actually it's from a southerly wind that's actually pulling in that low-level moisture into the Gulf states. So we do anticipate, based on all of the advisories from the Storm Prediction Center, that we do anticipate additional rainfall in the region of Louisiana, East Texas, as well as Arkansas, possibly even East Kansas. But we do know that there will be additional rain in the regions of Minnesota as well as Iowa, actually going into the regions of the upper Midwest for going into next week. Also keep in mind, residents of the South should anticipate that we'll be actually going into more of a heat zone going into the early part of next week. It will actually feel like we're actually entering summer, higher above normal humidity and above normal for May, entering early part of June for temperatures also. We're actually looking at South Carolina, Georgia, having temperatures in the mid 90s or low 90s with a 10 to 20 degree Fahrenheit above average for going into early next week. But it remains to be seen as far as how expansive this heat zone will be. But we do anticipate that it will extend all the way from the south of Georgia all the way up to the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. It will have unseasonably heat for residents of those states, whereas it will be relatively cooler in the Northwest. So that's actually what we're actually working on at this time. We do anticipate that going into the latter part of this evening, there will be increased storm activity for residents of Denver, Colorado, Kansas City, Missouri, Omaha, Nebraska, Tulsa, Oklahoma, as well as Minneapolis, Minnesota, and also residents in Wyoming and South Dakota should anticipate changes in weather more on the rain side going into the weekend. So definitely we're actually taking a closer look